name is Dr. Celeste Lee. I am an assistant professor of sociology at Spelman College. I am considered a race scholar. So in particular, I study race and ethnic relations from the standpoint of inequality. At Spelman, I teach courses on race and ethnicity. I also teach research methods and a course entitled Multivariate. I am excited about the upcoming teaching and for multiple reasons. The first is that it's apparent that given these times, a change must happen. And part of that change requires a discussion, a debate about what's going on and what can be done to affect change, to lead to a more egalitarian, more equal society. I'm also really excited about the collaboration between Atlanta, Minneapolis, and DC. I think that sometimes we experience these racialized and gendered and class moments in silos, but our ability to talk across the country about the ways in which these systems of oppression operate in a local level, I think is really important. So I'm excited also about that collaboration. This is actually my first year at Spelman College, and as an introduction into the intellectual community, I think it's important to be able to build bridges, and I think that's part of the goal of this teaching, again, to build bridges not only across institutions, but across change agents. So we have the ability to dialogue with not only faculty, but also community activists, many of whom take this scholarship and apply it, right, in real world settings. And then also students who are engaged both on an intellectual level, but many of the students that we work with are also involved in the protests themselves. And lastly, I think that this type of collaboration is important. For many scholars like myself, I see my scholarship as a form of activism. And part of activism is being in a community. And so this allows us to also be in a community of other like-minded activists and scholars and community agents as well. I think that they mirror previous protests in the sense that people are hungry for change. I think that the core of the protest is about marginalized communities and marginalized people saying, hey, we've had enough. We've had enough. I think also, though, that these protests are different, and that these protests are different because they are calling on our politicians, our criminal justice system to make radical change, to make changes that definitely shake up the status quo. I also think that these protests are different because we see greater diversity in terms of who's participating in these protests. I hope that based on those differences, that these protests will also lead to differences in our society and make some structural changes as well. We're excited about the teaching. I look forward to hearing not only from the other scholars, but also what the students from the different institutions and community activists have to say as well. I think it's going to be a really fertile conversation. I love the first one. I was really inspired. I've been writing ever since the first one, so I'm hoping that this teaching has a similar impact.